Hello everybody. In this lesson we're going to be marking our direct and indirect speech homework. So please compare your answers with my answers and then write the correct answers for those questions that you got wrong and send me a copy of that on Google Classroom. Okay, number 1. That is ridiculous, shouted the officer. The prisoner has to be here somewhere. So in order to put that into indirect speech, we need to see the first thing. The first determinator will be the introductory verb. All right. So the introductory verb is who's doing the action. All right. And we look at the action and we see, okay, so the officer is doing the action, but the action is in the past tense, shouted. So when we're changing it to indirect speech, everything is going to be in the past tense. For example, so the officer shouted, all right. So this is an interesting answer because the officers shouted with confusion that was ridiculous. The prisoner had to be there somewhere. So can you see how I've put in brackets why the officer would have been shouting, right? Probably with confusion, with frustration is another word adjective you can use. That was hilarious, and that stays the same when you are changing to indirect speech. But can you see the word was is changes to was, right? The prisoner had to be there somewhere. Can you see how here changes to there, right? And has changes to had because you're changing everything to the past tense. Moving on. Chad says it's going to snow today. So the first thing you do is you ask yourself, what is the action of this verb? Who is doing the action? Chad is doing the action, and Chad is saying, so that is the introductory verb, and it is in present tense. So when you're changing to indirect speech, everything needs to be in present tense. Chad says, right? Can you see how I did not change any tenses? Today stays the same. Is stays the same, right? You don't need to even have that. You can just say Chad says it is going to snow today, or you can have that as well. Right, your choice. Moving on. He says I am lost. Right, so for this one here, it's also you need to ask yourself what is the verb, who's doing the verb. He is doing the action, right? So he says is the introductory verb here, and this is in present tense. Says is a present tense verb, so nothing changes here. He says that he is lost. So not to say that nothing changes, but the tense stays the same. Okay, I am lost is in the present, and he is lost is also in the present. Right, obviously we have to change I to he and am to is. All right, she says, I have written 3 letters for my friend. Same thing with this. We need to ask ourselves, what is the tense of the action? What is her main action? Says, right? She is saying. So if this is in present tense, Everything in indirect speech needs to also be in present tense. So she says that she has written 3 letters for her. Okay, so let's see how this makes sense, right? She says that she has written. Can you see how we're changing had to has? Because we're changing it to has because in this example here, the verb here is have. All right, can you guys see that? So because the verb is have, when you're changing it to indirect speech, you need to make sure that you are indicating that she has written it like right now. All right. Because have is a present perfect verb. Okay, so when you're changing it, and we're gonna go into all the different types of verbs, but just to introduce you guys here, make sure that you keep this tense here, right? She has, it's completed in the moment. Moving on. Do you know why Roger went away? He inquired. First thing you need to ask yourself, what is the main introductory verb in the sentence? You won't find your introductory verb within quotation marks. You're going to find it next to the subject. So who is doing the action? He is doing the action. And what is he doing? He's inquiring. And when you inquire, it means to find out something. So we start with he. First of all, inquired is the past tense of inquire, right? So everything in indirect speech needs to now change to past tense. So he inquired. All right, so because this is a question, we're going to use the word whether or the word if. You can choose, right? So let's do one with the word whether. He inquired whether you changes to I because now he's asking me a question. Whether I knew why Roger went away. Oops, I'm repeating that word. Yeah, all right. So guys, this is how it's going to look in the end. He inquired whether I knew why Roger went away, or you can say the reason why Roger went away. Okay. And the second way you can say it is he inquired if I knew why Roger went away. Okay, you can either use the word whether or you can use the word if. So whenever most of the time when you have questions, you're going to be using the word whether and the word if. And if you have the word you, if the person is saying, do you know? Then he's asking you directly as the person. Right now he's asking me, teacher Bushra, if I know why Roger went away, right? So these are the two ways that you could have written this answer. And moving on. He said, I will finish my report in 2 days. You need to ask yourself, what is the tense of the introductory verb? So how do you find the introductory verb? Always out of quotation marks. It's never in the quotation. And here, the introductory verb is said, right? So it's in the past tense. So we need to change everything in the quotation marks into past tense. So starting with he said that so will becomes would. When you're changing will to the past tense, it becomes would. He said that he would finish his report in 2 days. All right, I'm going to underline the word would. There we go. Right. Okay, moving on. He says, I have to submit this assignment by 3 tomorrow. First of all, we need to ask ourselves, what is the introductory verb? The introductory verb is says, right? It's outside the quotation marks. And now we need to change everything here, or rather we can keep everything in the present tense. We can keep everything the way it is. So we start with he says that he has. Remember, have becomes has because it's in the moment. Has to submit this assignment. This doesn't change either because it is, we're still talking in the present tense. This assignment by 3 p.m. tomorrow. Tomorrow also doesn't change to the next day because it's present tense. Okay, so I'm underlining this for you. Has to. All right, moving on. Ouch, she screamed. You just pinched me. So in this regard here, follow the same protocol. What is the introductory verb in the sentence? Who is doing the action? He is doing the action, right? And what is he doing? He's screaming. So screamed is in past tense. So everything in indirect speech will also be in past tense. Whenever we have an interjective like ouch, ish, yeah, Jesus, etc., we will always have we will always express how we are saying that word when we are changing it, right? So he screamed with he screamed in pain, for example, right? You can use many adjectives here. That I, remember you becomes I had just pinched him. All right, so I changes, and you must add the had there because you're telling me that it happened in the past as well. Moving on, he said to me, what are you doing today? So in this sentence, the introductory verb is said, and said is past tense. Everything else, when changing it to indirect speech, needs to be in the past tense. He said to me what I was doing. Today becomes that day, right? Why does today become that day? Because you are changing it to past tense. So keep in mind I and was and that day. Moving on. She said to me, what is your name? In this case, the introductory verb is said, and it's a question. So we're gonna write it like this. She said, she asked me, right? We can change it. She asked me what my name was. Remember, is changes to was, right? Moving on. She said, I may invite them to dinner. Hint, may changes to might. So the introductory verb here is said. And everything now will change into the past tense. She said that she might invite them to dinner. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this lesson and have an awesome day forward. Bye.